I go. Made a promise to my mother, it's okay, cause I'm gon' die for this. I put my mind to this. Watch all these people, how they treat you, got no time for it. I fear no evil, got my demons, I'm just fine with them. And all these people think they know me, it don't matter to me, cause I'm gon' die for this. I put my mind to this. Watch all these people, how they treat you, got no time for it. I fear no evil, got my demons, I'm just fine with them.
All right, everybody, welcome to the 3 Point Stance Podcast. I am one of your esteemed co-hosts, Kaleb, with none other than my guy, Dee Gray. How you doing, brother?
You know it. Still a nation in the building, you know it. Back another week.
Yeah,
man.
Yes, sir.
Man, we had an interesting cat, man, they want to talk about tonight, man. I wish we could have got him on tonight, but totally understand the business side of this, man. We got to go over his business side before he can come onto a show. But shout out to Alfonzo, man. Making the Steelers roster, man. HBCU cat out of Baltimore, man. Man, what's your thoughts on him, Kaleb?
I like him. I didn't know much about him until, they signed him to the 3-year deal. He got invited to the mini camp for a tryout, and then I did, more research on him. Dude plays well, from what I've seen off of the clips that I've watched was, he's got great vision. He's a very patient runner. Kind of like his patience kind of reminds me, obviously not Le'Veon, but, Le'Veon-esque. Like the way he lets his line open up the holes for him and he waits, picks and chooses.
I think he's definitely a good back, man. I think he's definitely a tough running back, man. Come on, HBCU, man. First of all, the dude is from Baltimore. Let's be real. It's nothing but monsters coming out of Baltimore. Tavon Austin and there's other guys too as well. But, man, we got guys like him, man, undrafted, gets invited, man, to a rookie mini camp. In a loaded room, we got Najee Harris, where he's leading the load every week. You have the Warren guy. You have Anthony McFarland. You have a loaded room, man, where they just got rid of Benny Snell, which is a good running back at the time. And now you got this guy coming in. And, me personally, it's just like, as when you look at those numbers of that run, you're like, I don't think that's a good fit for him. And some kind of way he squeezed his way through that through his hard work, man, and earned himself a 3-year deal coming from an HBCU. How hard you had to think that was for him, Kaleb?
That's got to be tough, especially we know that the HBCU schools have a hard time getting looked at for whatever reason it is. I mean, there's talent all over the place in HBCU, and just like we talked about earlier, like with you can bring up Dion, his complaints with how the HBCU was ran. I mean, even Ed Reed and how his firing and everything like that. I mean, it's crazy. It's great that he's caught on, and I think we could expect big things from him, especially, I think one of his traits is a great receiver out of the backfield.
And that was about to be my question, man. When you think about him as speed, a guy of like his size, he's not really a big guy like Najee. He's not a guy that you expect to run over people, but he is a guy with speed. So when I think about guys like him, me personally, I think about his ability to be able to come out the backfield and catch passes and make people miss in the red zone. All those. We think about. I know Mike Tomlin do a lot of 7 shots and getting those running backs out the backfield, trying to create opportunities in those one-on-one matchups with linebackers and make big plays in open space. And he's definitely a guy that's going to do that. You know what I mean? And it's just his role is just going to be so maximized, man. And him being able to do so many different things with his speed is going to help him a lot. His thing is just keeping his legs underneath him, man. Staying healthy is going to keep him on the south side, man, being able to contribute and help the Steelers win because the boy got talent. He wouldn't earn that 3-year deal by a guy that did have talent. So now it's finding his role on the team. And it's funny, man. Me and my guys was talking recently about what is special teams? Like, man, is special teams are those positions on special teams? I'm like, yeah, they positions. He said, man, what is a special teams position of the guy that not the one that kicks that returns the ball, but the guy that's in front of him who blocks him? What is his position called on kick return? I don't know. It's a role, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you talk about it, the baseball was saying is like, man, they was talking about how those guys earn themselves to the Pro Bowl. And I say it's only one way. It's just to maximize your role. If your role is to do that, like Rosie Nix, he was a hell of a fullback, but he was a hell of a special teams guy that runs all the way down that field and make plays. maximizing your role. And I think that's going to be big for him making the 53-man roster is maximizing his role somewhere, whether it's gunner, somewhere with using his speed.
I completely agree. I mean, that's anybody's, like, when you're not, a guaranteed first or second string guy, your way to making the team is special teams, essentially. If you can make it, especially in Pittsburgh, they love their special teamers. I mean, so many guys, like you said, Rosie Nix, he made a name for himself on special teams. I think one of his most iconic photos was, I think it was the game after the Ryan Shazier injury. He lays somebody out on the opening kickoff. I think it was against Baltimore too, actually. And, he's lifting up that shirt with that 5-0 underneath. I mean, that's the way to make the team is on special teams.
Special teams sends a statement, man.
And having another quality back in that room, if it pans out that way, which, we hope it does, that lightens the load for Najee. That gives you a 3-man rotation now with Najee.
But my question there is, right now I can see where you're going at. You're eliminating Anthony McFarland already. And my thing is, what happens, because you say it's a 3-man rotation, but you saying Najee and you think about Mr. Warren and you think about Graham. But what about Anthony McFarland? We forget how fast, how his ability is to catch balls out of the backfield, make people miss, and how quick he is as well. So how do, Kaleb, if you Mike Tomlin and the kids upstairs, how do you balance out 4 of those guys? How do you distinguish between Anthony McFarland and Graham? Reason why I say those 2, because those 2 are the ones on the last of the running back list. How do you distinguish which one plays and who don't?
So this obviously, and this is something you and I have actually talked about on quite a few episodes in this past year, because in my opinion, Anthony McFarland was our 3rd best back last preseason. The only reason why he was on the practice squad was because of the special teams factor that Benny Snell brought to the team. Definitely. So I think I think we're going right back to where we started, and it's who can make the biggest impact on special teams. Anthony McFarland had his chance as a return guy. It hasn't really worked out that way.
That fair?
But to McFarland's advantage, he's been in Canada's system in college and now 3 years in the NFL now.
Yep.
So I mean it's gonna be who wants it more and who can make that impact that we need on special teams.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I think that's huge. Special team is always going to be huge, man. And I guess I was telling my homeboys that a couple days ago, man. If you're not willing to play special teams, you won't make it in the NFL. If you're not a 1st or 2nd round draft pick, you won't make it in the league unless you're a great special teamers. Be real, all the athletic guys and the best guys that make plays are on special teams. You know what I mean? And I think that's the first way for Graham to make his name known on the South Side is to be able to find his role on special teams. Because that's the only way he's going to find some type of way to be on the team to even accept the curry from Kenny Pickett. Because if not, you won't be there if you ain't doing no special team. And I think that he's a guy, man, that's going to work his tail off, man. And I love Anthony McFarland, but, man, it just get more and more competitive every year for him, man. And it gets more and more harder for him, man. And just got Anthony McFarland got to keep his head down and continue to work, man, and find his way on the special teams, man. If it's not returning kicks, somewhere blocking for somebody, going to go block a punt, some kind of way to establish himself on the sideline. On the team to continue to keep those checks rolling for him.
Yeah, and before we get on to our next subject, I do want to give a shout out to Alfonzo. He was very receptive to us the past few days. Just last minute, unfortunate circumstances. He's in the learning process as well, as much as we are, where it comes to his media team and him finding out about that. And sadly, he wasn't able to come on to today's show or the live show we'll be doing. But we hope to have him on again, or not again, but we hope to have him on in the future once we hopefully figure these things out. If not, we wish him the best of luck. And I'm excited to watch the preseason, watch him ball out in training camp, everything.
Well said, Kaleb. I agree with you, man. Good luck, Alfonso.
And then,
but man, some another great stuff going on today. You on it?
Yep.
You on it?
Yep.
Mason,
you know who's back.
Rudolph is back. Mason, Rudolph is back, man. I knew it, man. I knew it was coming up. Man, I'm so excited. I actually just shot him a text, man, and hopefully we can get him on as well, man. But I'm excited, man, to get Mason back, man. It's almost like when I look at this right now, it's almost like, I don't know how to put it. It's kind of like giving me the chills because it's like he's returning back to a clean slate. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like he removed himself to come back to a clean slate where he has the opportunity to start fresh. And even though it's still the same system, they were there a few months ago, but mentally it's almost like I was gone and then I'm back for a 1-year deal now. Now, Kenny Pickett is a guy, but now how do I find a way to make myself a guy? And not just a guy, but make myself the guy that can be used. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I looked at Dobbs. When Dobbs went to the Titans with us, it's like, he went back to now he went to the Browns. It's like every time it's almost like you restarting again a clean slate. Now it's like, what you done for me lately? Make a new name. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's going to be big for Mason Rudolph, man. If something, lo and behold, we hope not, happens to Kenny Pickett, will Rudolph be ready? And I think that, man, he's going to be definitely ready, man.
Hey, you forgot about our QB2, Mitch Trubisky. But I will say, I think Mason coming back is with. I mean, let's be honest. You know, free agency started in March. Yep. It's now May. You know, clearly there wasn't the interest that Mason thought there was out there for his talents. And in my opinion, Mason is a top backup, or maybe not a top backup, but he's a top 15 backup in the league. Yeah, and we have him 100%. As our third quarterback. And now he's got that free agency session, out of his system. He's going to have that fire. Oh, nobody wanted me. Watch what I'm going to do in the preseason. I think it's going to be quite a competition possibly for QB2, even though me personally, I think Trubisky as QB2, he might be a top 3 backup in the league. Then that's my personal opinion, and I know a lot of Steelers.
It's a tough room again, man. Yeah, it's one of those tough rooms again. It's one of those tough rooms, man.
A lot of Steeler fans are, 50-50 on Mason coming back. But those are the same Steeler fans that were calling for Mason to start after Mitch threw 3 interceptions against the Ravens. Yeah, and lost us that game when Kenny got knocked out.
I mean, you got to love the Steeler fans, man. They're going to be with you regardless. They're going to talk trash when you don't do good. They're going to love you when you do great. Yeah. So
we'll talk about you all week. We'll bury you into the ground. Then you win us the game, man. You're the savior.
I'm telling you. And as soon as you come out and mess up again, we forgot what you did last week. It's a new week, brother. It's a new week down, brother. But yeah, man, I'm super excited, man. I'm thrilled, man, for Mason Rudolph to come back, man. It's been my guy, man, since day one, man. And I always liked him as a QB. Very smart guy, man. For people that don't know, he works his tail off, man. I mean, this guy works his tail off. So it almost sometimes just makes me feel bad. Like when I was there at the time, he works his tail off so hard and he goes out and throw a pick. And it's be like, how, bro? Like, you saw this coming before anyone saw this coming. You did. Because he works his tail off, bro. Ain't nobody watch more film than this guy, man. Yeah. This guy works his tail off. I don't know how many times I just said that. You might have to get a point check on how many times I say Mason Rudolph works his tail off, bro. Like, ding, a ding, ding, works his tail off. And the hard work, the passion for the game, the love for the game, how much he cared for the game is all in him, man. And if people ever feel like that's not in him, they're absolutely wrong, man. This guy loves ball. I think what Mason has to do this second go round is more so let the game come to him. Slow it down a little bit in your head mentally, because I feel like he works so hard that he mentally jumbles things up. So mentally he's back there moving, looking, and stuff is moving so fast because he's seeing so much when it's not really what he's seeing. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So I feel like you ever feel like when somebody say when you study too long, you know what I'm saying? It's to the point you almost forget what you're studying because you're studying way too long. And sometimes like, man, you got to just get what you need to get out of it and let it go. And I feel like this go around, Mason, get up out that meeting room just a little bit. just a little bit. And once you get your proper information, let it ride and let the physical part do the rest. You know what I mean? So I think Mason is definitely ready to be a good quarterback, man.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and that's where you talk about his essentially kind of over prepared and then overthinks. In my opinion, years ago when Ben got hurt for the year, and Mason QB1, and then he got knocked out.
And Duck was back up.
Yep, he got knocked out. Yeah, he got knocked out in that Baltimore game. Duck came in. I think that messed with Mason's head a little bit. And in my opinion, I always said,
don't forget Myles Garrett.
Yeah. See, and that's another thing. That's what I love. That's what I love about Mason. That shows you he has that fire. He's going up against, I hate to say it, but he is one of the top defenders in the league. But he's not afraid to go head to head with him in that situation as a quarterback. But back to where I was going. I think if you put Mason with Duck's swagger and moxie, man, you have a hell of a quarterback.
Definitely. You definitely have a great backup quarterback that can sling it, and he's going to say, you get the point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Baker Mayfield style. You know what I mean? And I think that's the point where Mason has to get to. He's got to let it fly. He worked too hard to let it be that stuck up in his game. You know what I mean? I feel like not stuck up as a person, but stuck up because he don't want to make mistakes. So perfect. Yeah. It's like, bro, let it fly. We work too hard. You get cursed out during the week. You get mother effed all week for stuff you do wrong. Game day supposed to be fun. Let it fly. Yes, it's physical. Yes, you're going to make mistakes, but let it fly, man. All the best quarterbacks. Tom Brady threw an interception. Ain't no quarterback in the league ever went a whole career not throwing one pick. I don't think there's no quarterback ever did that. So you're going to throw picks, but throw picks swagging out. Like, man, I saw that. I'm going to get you next time. It happened. The great quarterbacks does it. So it's like Mason got to get the game to calm down for him and come with that swag and drop his manhood and let it fly, man. I think Mason is going to be, once he start to figure that out, he's going to be a hell of a quarterback, man, because he can sling it. He has a pretty delivery with the ball. Like, he has a great, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm not too familiar with quarterback, but the way he spins it's perfect, bro. Like, it's perfect. I watched it over and over again in practice. It's a pretty ball.
I 100% agree. Like, there was one touchdown. It was to George Pickens in the preseason, actually, against the Lions. He threw a beautiful ball to Pickens, and that's when, like, he threw that ball, and I was like, he might beat out Mitch Trubisky for the starting job. It was that, like, he's got an arm. He's got the talent to,
come on, man. He came from
be a guy.
Come on, man. He came from a Pac-12 offense, man, where he was slinging all over the field. Yes. So, like, it's in him. It just got to figure out the way to slow the game down for him, and let him play his game. And that's the part that he's missing. And I feel like that's what makes him a bubble guy versus a guy that's going to be strictly a backup quarterback fighting for that starting spot. You know what I'm saying? So
he's not going to, at least here, we got that guy in Kenny Pickett. He ain't going nowhere anytime soon. He's got that, I throw an interception like you were talking about. I saw that. I'm gonna get you next time. He's got that moxie and swagger that we want. He's got it.
Yeah, for sure.
But man, sure. I'm happy to have him back. That solidifies the QB room. There's no quarterback 3 questions. And if you look at the playoffs this year in the San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy was their 3rd quarterback going into the year. Brock Purdy.
And look what he did last year.
And he got knocked out.
Look what he did last year.
Exactly. And then you think about, like, after Purdy got injured, what did they have? So we've put ourselves in a situation now, as long as Mason and Mitch, both of them are still on the team come into the preseason, we put ourselves in a situation where we're covered. We're good. Like Mason, we know Mason can win games. We know Mitch can win games. Mitch can also lose you games, and Mason can also lose you games. But
for sure. For sure.
But, that's part of the business. You're not gonna, I mean, I think what was it, 2009 Patriots, 2008 Patriots, 2007. I mean, you can't win every game. There's only been one team to ever do that, and that was in the 70s. So.
Yeah, man. But we also, man, I mean, think about it. We talking about great quarterbacks here, though, right? We talking about all the great quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett. You talking about Mason Rudolph. You talking about Mitch Trubisky. All these guys and how he throw a beautiful ball and all that great thing. But he can't throw the ball to himself. So how about you speak about Cam Heyward, man? Cam Heyward trying to get him a superstar receiver back in the room.
So the news is on Cam's Not Just Football podcast. I believe I got that right. It's Not Just Football by Cam Heyward. He went out and said that he has been advocating for the reinstatement of Martavis Bryant.
I think that's huge, man. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, the dude was a straight baller, bro. Like, straight baller. Yes, he made some bonehead decisions, man, off the field, but straight ball on the field, man. Back on his slate of time here in Pittsburgh. But, I mean, just doing a little bit of research on Martavis, man, it ain't looking too good as far as what he's done as far as the XFL dealing with the Vipers over there in Vegas, man. And, I mean, especially when you're a guy that's been removed for so many years, you almost become forgot about. So when you do get that roll around again, you got to make it count. And as I'm reading things about him, it doesn't look like he made that count. So my thing is, yes, he might get his opportunity to be reinstated back into the league, but after team viewing his film, I mean, what are they getting out of it if he's not dominating his competition in a lower league like the XFL when they have technically worse players than the NFL? Technically on paper, that's what it said, but it's some good ballers over there. In all those leagues, there's ballers over there. So
yeah, and like I agree, and you got to think, the NFL's the NFL for a reason, and that's all based on quarterbacks run the NFL. I mean, we can be honest about that.
Right.
And I didn't watch many Las Vegas Vipers game. I maybe watched one because Rod Woodson was the coach and Martavis Bryant was on the team. So I don't know how much in the game plan Martavis was involved and how many passes the quarterback potentially missed. I don't even know who their quarterback was. But like obviously that stuff goes into play, Like Deontay Johnson, for example, he had a really good year this year, had 0 touchdowns. So how's that look? That in my opinion wasn't quarterback play. That was offensive scheme play. But we'll get into that later.
We all know Martavis is not a bad player. Like, we all know that. We all know Martavis can run, he can jump, he can hop, he can skip, he can do everything forward and backwards. We all know that.
Yes.
But my point is, when you think about his success over there, you think about mentally. Mentally, where's Martavis Bryant? Is he ready to be back in a system where he has to be controlled again, where he has to be told, hey, we have meetings at 8 a.m. Hey, you have to run to the 10-yard line and you have an out route, or whatever the case may be. All those details, is he ready to be back in that again? And I think, me personally, a guy like him, he should be back ready for that, man. Look how long he's been removed. And this guy can play, man, and I think he really can play. So I can understand why Cam is advocating for him to get back in the league, because if he gets back with Mike T again, it could be rekindling him again to get him back focused. You know what I mean? And get him back where he needs to be. And I think that he's definitely a guy that they can use. They can use experience. They can use the experience and him being an older guy, a guy that's been around the league for a while, and a guy that's just been through some stuff, you know what I mean, to help those young guys come along quicker, you know what I mean? So I'm rooting for him as well, man.
Yeah, no, I'll never forget Martavis Bryant, stiff arming Tyrann Mathieu against the Cardinals and taking a Landry Jones pass 75 yards, I think, on a slant all the way to the house. I mean, dude was a freak, and it's sad to see that, and like Josh Gordon, for example, it's sad to see their careers ruined over a substance that helps you mental wise. It it does more benefits than it does not. And I believe the NFL is lightening their stance on it. I don't know if it just came out, but
I think they're increasing the amount of you can have in your system
yeah,
per test, meaning that it was a certain amount of number you had to be at, and I think it was real low. And now I think they are allowing it to be in your system, but it has to be to a certain point. And it's like, okay, this is too much. Pop you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And I think I want to say the NBA completely legalized it amongst the NBA, which, I think that's a great step forward because, I mean, me personally, I think it does wonders for people. I think it's, it's a good rehabilitation tool. It's good for PTSD. It's good for, many, 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 many things.
Check this guy out. This guy here is an advocate for weed. You know who the real weed head is.
I did not say that. All right. I just said there's many, many benefits, and I think that we should lean more towards that because it would reduce, I think, many, many, many people's drinking.
I agree, man. I agree.
Which is what's crazy is like you look at Martavis and then Josh Gordon, they weren't getting DUIs for drinking or anything like that. It was for that. But then you got guys in the league getting DUIs left and right and all left this or this, or even like I hate to bring up Henry Ruggs right now, but you look at that situation. Look what's happened to him. That was due to drinking. Life changing. What happens if that stuff?
I mean, yeah, so many guys. Yeah, so many guys that happen to.
Yeah, like what happens if that stuff's legal? Is that guy going out drinking, or is he, doing that other stuff instead?
Yeah. And now you definitely have a valid point, man. I definitely have a valid point. I think marijuana is becoming legal, so all legal around the whole world. I mean, I think the league definitely needs to pipe down a little bit on the weed thing, man. I think it should be tolerated as necessary. And I mean, I feel like certain people that maybe had a drug problem or anything like that should be tolerated differently. But the guys that haven't, it should be now all these tests, man. And which I feel like they do that, but I feel like they still be kind of sneaky with it, trying to pop guys. And I mean, but man, definitely the more. I mean, marijuana has when they take that rule out, the game would probably be a better place for a lot of guys. Yeah. It would probably be more better. Because I've heard over the years, man, so many guys say they revert to marijuana because it helps the care of their body, man. And I'm going to say the names, but, man, guys that I've played with in the league has always told me, man, you should try this. But I've never been a guy that can get to it. I never liked it, never will, still don't like it, just don't like it at all. It's just not for me. I found other ways to cope with pain. But that was their pain reducer, man, by smoking marijuana faithfully every day. And it was like, and they play high level. We're talking about Pro Bowlers. Yeah. So, I mean, me personally, if it's getting you to the Pro Bowl, obviously you're doing something right. And obviously if you're going to the Pro Bowl, you're helping win games. So, hey, keep doing it, brother. Keep doing it, brother.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and like you said, I am fully advocating. I think Martavis Bryant deserves to be back in the league. I think Josh Gordon deserves to be back in the league.
Oh, man, after the year Josh Gordon had, he had a pretty good year.
Yeah, with Ben DiNucci. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't hate Martavis Bryant being a Steeler again. I mean, we got a rock solid receiver room right now.
Definitely.
I mean, they just added another XFL guy, Hakeem Butler, big guy. Like, I think Calvin Austin's our 5'9", and everybody else other than Gunnar Olszewski and Anthony Miller are like 6'3" or taller in that receiver room. I mean,
I think he's gonna be a solid guy, man. I mean, he comes from the XFL, man. I mean, he's been great, man. As I look at some of the stats and stuff like that, man. He had a pretty solid year, man, with the Battlehawks, man. 51 receptions, 599 yards, 8 TDs in 10 games with the Battlehawks. pretty solid year, man. I mean, he's pushing, 400 yards shy of 1,000 yards, man, in the XFL, where, in these type of leagues, let's be real for people that don't know, these type of leagues, things have to be evenly sorted. And when I say evenly sorted, it's just like every person on the team has to play because everyone is trying to get back to the league. Everyone needs reps. Everyone needs film. So to have 600 yards, man, that's a lot of yards for one receiver when you have a lot of receivers on the roster that's getting the ball as well. So, that just shows that he made his opportunities count. He's a former 4th-round draft pick, man, and So he's definitely a guy that's of talent. So the Steelers definitely can use him, man, in that room.
Yeah, like we talked about before. He just didn't catch on his first few years. I think this is a great opportunity for him. And you said his 8 touchdowns. I believe 99% of those were in the red zone. And guess where the Steelers struggled in last year? Yeah. Guess what the Steelers are addressing? Yeah, we got George Pickens, 6'3", 6'4", George Pickens. We got Allen Robinson, who's 6'4" as well. Then we got Darnell Washington, 6'7". We got Freiermuth, 6'4". Hakeem Butler, 6'5", 6'6".
And then you have the babies, Calvin Austin, Miles Boykins.
Miles Boykins is 6'3" himself, but yeah, he's a baby.
Yeah,
he's a baby in height compared to like Darnell Washington. Yeah, but then you got Calvin Austin. He's our little road runner. He's gonna be that guy that catches everybody off guard.
Yep, jet sweeps right what Canada needs.
Yep. But I think
Overall, I think it's a great pick for him, man. XFL has a lot of talent, man. I think that sometimes that league gets overlooked, man. And you see these guys are former draft picks over there, such as myself, man, in the USFL right now, former draft picks with the Steelers. So these guys are spread all over these leagues, and it's just like when I sit back and think, it's like, how do you find these guys? Like, what is Tomlin and Omar looking at when they looking at some of these films? Who is scouting their film? Do they have a scouter there, or is Omar actually looking back? Say, I like Butler. We want that guy. Soon as this is over, we call him. You know what I mean? And it's just very interesting to see what makes him versus all the rest of the receivers say we want him with the Steelers. You know what I mean? It's kind of a little crazy game, man. When there's a lot of guys that are playing for so much, man, because there's so much on the line for these guys out there.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I think, as far as, I think we got mandatory minicamp coming up soon with I believe rookies go to mandatory minicamp as well. I know they're the rookie. I know the rookies' schedule is a little bit different compared to, the veterans, but I would imagine
it's a little different, but for the most part, most of the guys going to get this week off after rookie minicamp, get the week off, and then next week minicamp should kick off with the whole team there. And yeah, man, it's going to be great. All the rookies will be there. Everyone that made the team from rookie minicamp to the team for right now and leading into camp will be at veterans minicamp. So that's when you get to find out about the guys as far as things going to start to pick up just a little bit for those guys. Like, they're going to still be running day one install, but it's going to be a little more nuances there because you have veteran guys out there that have been knowing those plays, such as Cam. He knows what Canada's running at this point. He's going to be jumping plays, making Broderick real frustrated up front. I can't wait to see some of the interviews come out of this. But yeah, man, it's going to be definitely very testy for some of these young guys out there in minicamp, man, because I know it was very testy for myself when I was out there rookie minicamp. Cam Heyward was a load. Stephon Tuitt was a load. Tyson Aluhu was a load. I can keep going. Bud Dupree was a load. TJ was a load. Wobble, load. Big Dan McCullers, load. Like
big load.
Big load. I'm like, bro, I can keep going. Like Vince Williams, load. Vince Williams, load. So Man, it was a stellar group, man. But I feel like they've rebuilding that now, man, getting those guys in there, man, with Roberts in the middle linebacker spot. I think, man, he's a great experienced linebacker. I'm super excited about Roberts, man.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And, as far as mandatory minicamp goes, this is where we'll end today's episode, and on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z,
Definitely.
Once mandatory minicamp comes around, we'll dive into that. We want to stay as up to date with Steelers talk as possible for you guys. Today's episode was a little, what can
Fun.
I say? Yeah, it was a lot. It wasn't. We made it into a lot of fun. It changed 5 minutes before showtime, but we had fun. Again, shout out to Alfonzo. Welcome back, Mason. Let's go, Martavis Bryant. And I don't have anything else to say. D, what do you got to say?
All I gotta say is, Matt Canna, let's keep rocking, baby. Peace.
I'll never give you the last word again.